Usually when we play What's More Likely, it is two binary choices with no middle ground, no flexibility. A twist on What's More Likely today, you'll see as it unfolds. First, who is the team playing on Wild Card Weekend, and there are 8 of them in all, that is most likely, Chris, to win the Super Bowl?
Well, I mean, this is an easy question. Well, it's not an easy question. It's down to 2 teams right off the bat. I mean, we know that's either the Saints or the Patriots. And right now, for this year, I'm picking the Saints. You know, I think the Saints are arguably, really the last few weeks, I think playing probably the second best football in the NFL ever since they lost to the 49ers. I would almost go the Ravens, then the Saints, and then the 49ers. I think it's very close. I'm just talking about the play we've seen the last few weeks. But, yeah, I think the Saints are, one of the best teams in football. I'm going to go with them there.
Yeah, I'm going with the Patriots because, as we discussed yesterday while we were on the air for 5
You're so
hours,
scared. You're so
scared. The Patriots are the Terminator. Hey, anybody who was ever taken down by the Terminator when they assumed the Terminator was dead should have been scared. If they'd have been scared, they would have made sure the Terminator was dead. The Terminator ain't dead. The Patriots are the team playing this weekend, most likely to win the Super Bowl.
Wow. Okay.
That's the other team you were talking about, right?
I know. You're right. I know.
Yeah, okay. Who is the team with a first-round bye that is most likely to be one and done in the postseason?
All right. Well, you could probably guess where I go with this one, but to me, that's the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers, I give them a lot of credit, of course, for some of the ways they're winning football games. They're doing that, yes. There's a lot of good, a lot to like. I don't look at them, though, as the same quality football team as the Ravens, the 49ers, the Saints, the Kansas City Chiefs. I really don't. Again, there's just issues along the team. I don't think there's enough explosive weapons on the offensive side of the ball. And on the defensive side of the ball, yes, things look good. Last week was a little concerning again, but not horribly. I shouldn't say that. I guess I just don't buy into the defense all the way quite yet either. So the Packers are easily my choice in this conversation.
And the other thing to remember, once upon a time, it was impossible to go to Lambeau Field and win in the postseason. That bubble was burst. Remember how it was burst and when it was burst, Chris?
Okay, let me think about this. Was that bubble burst, was that Michael Vick and the Falcons? Was he the first one to do it, right?
January 4, 2003, the year you would later be drafted by the Buccaneers, the Atlanta Falcons went in and won 27-17 or 27-7.
Yeah,
was the final score, 27-7. And remember the Giants game, the year that the Packers were 15-1 and Aaron Rodgers was the MVP, one of the all-time great seasons.
Sure.
I think that was one of your selections.
Yeah.
When we looked at the best individual seasons of the decade, Aaron Rodgers 2011. The Giants went in there and beat them.
Whoa.
They lost to the 49ers at home in the postseason and Colin Kaepernick in 2013.
What about 2007? Last game of Brett Favre's career with the Green Bay Packers. They lost to the Giants at home then, too. So, yeah, they've had a few. Certainly have lost that luster or that dominance as far as playoff football is concerned.
They're on a 2-game home playoff winning streak. The Cowboys in the Des Cottet game and the Giants in 2016, the infamous boat trip game.
Right.
I agree with you, though. The Packers are the team most likely to be one and done, primarily because the other teams that have a bye, the 49ers, the Chiefs, and the Ravens, I believe in them. And look, the next team on the list that I would be concerned about is the Chiefs, just because of their long history of losing playoff games at home.
Sure.
I would be very concerned about the Chiefs. And
yes.
Depending upon who they play, if it's the as the 2 seed, they're going to be facing.
If Darth Vader comes to town, or like you said, the Terminator. The Terminator
yes.
ought to be back, right? Yeah, that'll be scary because they have the secondary to kind of match up with Kansas City in certain ways. We know Belichick's a genius, and he'll find a new creative wrinkle. Kansas City's defense is good, but I don't think we're sitting here calling dominant. Yeah, I hear you there. I think that would be another one that would scare me as well.
Next one, who is the person most likely to rewrite the narrative during the postseason?
Well,
this is a tough one.
This is a tough one. It really is. Because it's a little broad and you don't really know where to go. There's not a lot of negative narratives about guys. I mean, the first 2 people. All right, the first guy I thought about was Kirk Cousins. I said, I don't think he's rewriting anything after this weekend. Not going to New Orleans, not dealing with that Saints team. I don't think they got a chance. So that's not happening. I do look at Carson Wentz. I think he's in the process of, like, we're ripping up the paper and rewriting a new narrative right now a little bit. I think everybody's realizing what a special player he is, and I think there's a good chance, and I don't know this, but I think that's a coin flip game. I think the Eagles can beat the Seattle Seahawks in Philadelphia in January on the grass, slow the Seahawks down. They're more game plan specific than the Seattle Seahawks, Mike. Jim Schwartz will do some different things. I think they'll learn from the first time they played where they lost to the Seattle Seahawks. I think Carson Wentz is probably the guy I look at that can really rewrite his narrative and change the perception about him across the league.
Well, but I also think his narrative is already being rewritten. It is. That's the playoffs.
Right.
Yeah. Here's one that I'm going to go with, and it pains me to say it, and it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but it's also of the choices out there, somebody who can rewrite their narrative in a positive way.
Yeah.
When you consider his playoff history, it's Kyle Shanahan. Right?
Sure.
Because if he has a 28-3 lead in any of these playoff games, he is not going to blow it. 28-3 is going to become 56-10. And it's all the more reason for him to stomp on the throat of whoever they play. I feel sorry for anybody that falls behind the 49ers because he is going to have the killer instinct full bore because of what happened in Super Bowl 51. Sure. And I guarantee you they are not going to let up. They are not going to make bad decisions. They are not going to misplay the clock. There's not going to be any way anyone can blame anything on Kyle Shanahan. They are not going to blow a lead if they have a lead. And they also have the team to hold a lead, unlike the Falcons did 4 years ago.
Yeah, well, Mike, I'm actually really glad you said that because it's one of the dumbest narratives out there. Again, my stance on that. I mean, it's not the offensive coordinator's job to manage the football game. An offensive coordinator goes out and does what he does always until the head coach says, hey, I'd like to run it here. Hey, we got to get some time off the clock here. I mean, I've never seen anything like it where the offensive coordinator got more blame about the managing of a game situation than the head coach who was making 4 times the amount of money. It makes no sense. We would never blame Josh McDaniels if that happened vice versa. We would go, what the hell was Bill Belichick thinking? But for some reason, people on the Falcons and everybody just ran with Shanahan, and nobody stuck up for him in Atlanta. That still bothers me to this day. You know that, and I just think it's a totally stupid, false narrative there all the way.
Well, that's true, and I'm glad you clarified it because it's not a merited and warranted narrative, but it's out there, and it's all the more reason for him to perform in a way that causes everyone to say, hey, maybe that was Dan Quinn. And ultimately, the guy in the, we see quarterbacks change the play all the time if they know that it's not the play to go, and we praise them for it. Matt Ryan didn't do anything to put the Falcons in a better spot in that game. All right, who is the person most likely to confirm the narrative about him during these playoffs? Have we already mentioned the name? I think we've already mentioned the name.
You want Kirk Cousins, yeah. Well, the Monday Night Football game of your team with your quarterback did not make me feel did not make me feel good.
Maybe that was a setup. Maybe they did it on purpose. Maybe they knew there was no way they were going to be the 6th seed. So let's go out and be really, really bad in that game. So everybody writes us up. If they went from a team that I felt like could play with anyone in the postseason. Now I look at them and say they're just done.
Why even bother?
It's
over.
Hear
you. I'm with you. It really changed my opinion too. I had this conversation with my dad on the phone last week, and it's funny because we were kind of both saying the same thing. Like, gosh, what the Vikings? It just made me lose faith in them that game that night. There was no fire, no leadership. If the game just doesn't go the right way, Kirk Cousins doesn't make any plays to help the team get over the top or whatever it is. But when we talk about narratives, right? I mean, okay. I mean, who's else going to confirm their narrative? I mean, Lamar Jackson is awesome. He's going to confirm his awesomeness. I mean, who's another guy that has a negative narrative right now in the playoffs, like a Kirk Cousins, that, everybody else is kind of positive, right? So
how about this?
Yeah.
Stats just planted one in my ear. Andy Reid and clock management.
Oh, that's a pretty good one, Stats. I hear you. You're right. That's another one that, we should all watch for. Yes, definitely. I think that's very fair, too. And you know what's actually funny? Now I'm thinking about the other narrative, who changed the narrative. I'm also thinking about Ryan Tannehill as well into that conversation. But sorry, I'm getting off topic. But
Tannehill's already changed the narrative, too.
That's
the
too.
thing.
It's like
Just
Carson
like
Wentz. He's rewritten it the last month. But who else has a really negative narrative around them out of the 12 teams in the playoffs? I think we might have just hit the two guys right there.
We do for taking way too long with segments.
Okay.
We need to change that narrative.
This was a good convo,
no
though.
time
I had fun.
for the next segment.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.